Ichigo awakens by Talacha in chapter 58, Crime and Punishment, Kumoi's hidden base. Kumoi finished the work that Ryuichiro takeover of the clan gave him. She wanted a full list of who did what jobs and if they were satisfied with them. Ideas on how to improve life and working conditions through the Kusumoji house. Dating possibilities for herself and her fiance Shu Kanoji. Stopping Ichigo from traumatizing the boy after hearing about their arranged marriage. She was taking her future roles responsibly, and everything he was building towards was collapsing around him. He didn't need her to take her role seriously. He needed her to let him have control of the clan. Now he finally had a chance to plan his next move, and he found his base in ruins. The smiths and researchers were dead. The guards were dead. The Bakotos were destroyed, and there were no signs of anyone left. What is this? He gasped in shock, seeing his base of operation in such a state. What's going on? Righteous vengeance, he heard a familiar voice say. He turned to see Shishuke Amagai with his blade dripping with blood. Ichigo Kurosaki scowling at him, and Ryuichiro glaring at him with disdain. Gyako Kumoi, you've been found guilty of conspiracy against society and for crimes against the Kusumaji clan. Amaiji said, ready to continue his last mission for revenge. Kumoi stepped back in fear before Enryu and Kenryu appeared behind him to hold him down. You've overstepped your stating, Komoi, Ryuichiro said with disdain. You said you could keep the Komoji clan stable and productive. You betrayed that trust, and the family is taking quite the amount of damage to your reputation and standing against the nobility. Komoi glared at the brat that he blamed for ruining everything. You selfish little bit. He was about to continue before Enryu came close to breaking in Komoi's arm. I have to go now, Ryuichiro said, turning with Ichigo following in tow. I have to repair all the damage you've done to the clan. Lieutenant Amaijai, finish your mission. Shishuke stood in front of the man responsible for his father's death for years of anger and hate, and raised his sword. Why are you doing this? Kumoi demanded, ignoring the pain the two attendants gave as they twisted his arms. I've done as you asked. You assured me everything would work out. I was always going to kill you, Kumoi, Amaga admitted, staring coldly as the old man's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. Everything I've done was so I could avenge my father's death. I only sided with you because I believed Yamamoto was conspiring with you until he revealed the truth. Komoi was consumed with despair as tears fell from his eyes. You were just a means to an end, he said just before bringing down his sword. Las noches, Aizen study. Aizen watched the latest feed from his spy drones in Kurokata town. Nothing on Ichigo in particular, but plenty on his allies. The Fullbringers attained a higher level in their abilities. Tatsuki was growing stronger, and Rudryu definitely showed potential to his claim. Between them, the Bakoto wielders dropped like ants to a giant. Something that did little to surprise him. Only the weak would consider sacrificing their lives for power like that, he said as he watched the last of the Bakoto assassins fall before watching the entire battle, the slaughter. That reminded him that Kurokata town was now protected. He had a plan to get the main fighters away, but he needed the perfect chance to enact it. When the squad was truly occupied soon, Tosen and Laporo came into his study. How are they coming along? The spotter ranks will have to be changed soon to accommodate the newest additions, Tosin told his master, while the Rankar scientist giggled madly. They're coming along splendidly, Shia said in a flamboyant manner. She's almost stabilized and the boys are almost ready for their mission. He grinned proudly, expecting praise from his lord Aizen, but his master remained silent. How much stronger will that boy become? Aizen wondered, watching the recording of Ichigo being informed of Orihime's disappearance and retrieving her within minutes. Accelerate your progress. Do whatever it takes to make him stronger. The two bowed and left, leaving Aizen to wonder how the spotter ranks will change. With Uryu, the aftermath of the battle was essentially cleaned up. Some assassins fled almost like they were possessed into the outskirts of Karakura town, so someone needed to hunt them down and destroy them. The injured squad members became stabilized, so Uryu volunteered to go out there himself. So something about him. therapeutic venting. He shot himself into the outlying forest where the assassins were last spotted. He was alone until he reached the woods when the Sternritter came along. So, is this another plot to try and get into our good graces? Uryu asked as they traveled the treetops. If you want to do that, you should have helped out when the assassins attacked him. Maybe if we wanted to be suicidal, then we would have. The Candace grumbled under her breath. The others heard it, but chose to ignore her in favor of the hunt. They situated themselves in a high tree branch and got set in each one of the cardinal directions. Bows ready to snipe down the remaining assassins. We still don't trust society as a whole, Ishida, Basby said as the group found their prey and started shooting periodically. And what you said during that fight with Kurosaki? Uryu nodded his head. Your fight with him didn't exactly make you trustworthy among the Vanderlaka, and Mixed Quincy never had much respect or value among us either, Bambita said, shooting an explosive arrow at the Bakoto of an assassin. Most of the Senator want to see Ichigo dead for being an abomination among Quincy. His Majesty was adamant, however, we must bring this wayward child back to the light, he says. The entirety of the Vanderreich praises him for his love and mercy, becoming more and more devoted to his word. Basby continued, probably would still work on us, except you got us thinking. Funny how that tends to ruin stuff, Uryu muttered under his breath. I personally have had a bad habit of luring guys into my bedroom with the promise of sex, and then I kill them, Babita said, ignoring Uryu's comment, but shocking him enough to actually miss his shot, aimed for the nucleus of the weapon and remove the guy's head. I can vouch for that, Candace chimed in, and always the cutest ones. Point is, some of us kill each other, have lost families, but Yubak did nothing for us, Basby growled before calming down as he spoke. So why are we still so loyal? Were we conditioned? Do we have some small measure of gratitude to him we can't remember? Are we being controlled by him through his blood in our veins? We don't know. Until we do get an answer, we'll be siding with you, Candace said, doing a dramatic hair flip. No matter what, the Standards looked at Uryu, and he tried to find any trace of deception. He gave them an approving nod and wanted to keep his enemies close so he could watch them. They resumed killing the remaining assassins when Bambita spoke up. By the way, is Ichigo single? Married, actually, and his wife is willing to share if his harem is anything to go by, he said, without missing a beat. If you're interested, you'll have to gain their approval. He shot down the last assassin and dispelled his bow before looking back at the shocked expression of the other Quincy's. This was fun. Goodbye. Captain's meeting. I'm a guy's trial. You stand accused of having admitted to this latent conspiracy in society of treason, possession, and use of illegal weapons, and threatening the whole of society by distributing our war preparation against Aizen and Yoba. Yamamoto said as he listed off the offenses Amagai committed in the past few days. Amagai was sitting in the sage position in the center of the assembly. Your crimes are quite severe. How do you plead? Amagai himself looked up to the head captain, his own captain standing by the old man's side and speaking with resolve and regret. I'm guilty of all these crimes and more, sir, he said, condemning himself to the gathering of military leaders in the Gotai. I allowed myself to be consumed with my anger and thirst for revenge that I came to a false conclusion out of a need to justify my hate towards you, sir. Never knowing the truth of the circumstances that led me to my foolish actions, I understand the weight of my sins and will repent accordingly, he said before pulling out his sanpakuto and prepared to plunge the blade through his body. His penitent suicide was stopped as Love punched his subordinate in the face once again. Amagai dropped his sword and was getting punched repeatedly and without mercy from the fist of Love. You think I'd be happy with you taking the easy way out? Love growled as he punched his foolish lieutenant again and again until he could barely move. He dropped Amagai to the ground, letting him cough up blood and spit out some teeth as Akiwa had to lecture his idiot second. You can kill yourself to avoid being captured by the enemy, or when you sacrifice yourself to save your comrades, but not now. You're commander of the Gotai 15, meaning you do not have control of your own life. It belongs to us. It belongs to us in service of keeping the peace and stability of society and the protection of the balance of souls. You will die when you fall in battle, or when your actions are truly unforgivable, Love said as he returned to his position among the captains. As Captain Akiwa has stated, taking your own life will hardly be penance enough for your actions, Yamamoto said as Amagai pushed himself up to look at the old man in the eye. One of his his was already swelling shut. You've shown how much you regret your actions, and under normal circumstances, you'd be allowed to take your life to restore your honor. However, your selfishness cannot be tolerated, as we need as many strong soldiers as we can get. You will live forever bearing the weight of your sins until you fall in battle. Tessai stepped towards and hoisted the man to his feet before tearing open his shihakusho. And grit your teeth. This will hurt him, he said, pointing with his middle finger and index fingers, both glowing with Kido. He lightly touched Amagai's chest, and he screamed as if his heart was being torn from his chest. Tessai traced a pattern on his body, every millimeter burning with an intense light, as the kanji for traitor was branding across his chest. The moment he finished, Amagai dropped and took a pained, shuddering breath, as even that simple act caused pain. You will remember your crimes, and that brand is laced with the steel that will prevent you from killing yourself. This is your penance as a soldier. Amagai was unresponsive as two guards dragged him away to the Division 4 barracks to recover. The need for soldiers supersedes the need of punishment. As he was taken away, Urahara stepped forward. I think this was quite the eye-opening experience, the eccentric scientist said, with no joyful tone in his voice. We're investigating the Rukon districts and our own numbers, but the nobility might be a problem if left to their own devices. There are some that certainly have enough clout to be an issue if they try to rebel. Komamaru said, thinking back to some of the stories Tosin told him about his friend. Then we crush it before the situation repeats itself, Yamamoto declared. Captain Kuchiki, Soifon, Ukitake, and Kuryaku, the four of you are to investigate the nobility for any signs of treason. Sir, the four nobles responded as they got their orders. Kuchiki elder meeting. And Kumoe has failed us, one of the elders grumbled, bringing the disappointing news to his co-conspirators. Even with our aid, his methods proved to be weak. Bah, he was just the old caretaker of a mid-ranked noble family. We should have known better. Another one said, we've kept the Kuchiki family and our tradition strong on our own strength. Why should we ever rely on others to do what we've done in the past? I believe the one responsible for poisoning the Rukon Rat Hisana are still around. We just need to distract them around Rukia this time. The room was filled with silent agreement before the room itself seemed to shift as Byakuya revealed himself from a veil of light that kept him invisible, shocking the assembly of elders. Byakuya, how? When? Bakudo 26, Kyoko, he's been watching for a while, haven't you? Indeed, Byakuya admitted before slowly pulling out his sword. Head Captain Yamamoto gave me a recent order to investigate every noble house in Serite for any signs of treason. I started with my own and found this. The reveal that my wife died not because of an illness but because of poison. That they planned to repeat this with my sister, and that they partook in the Kusumoji conspiracy. I consign you all to death, he said, no emotions in his voice. His actions were smooth and cold, but there was a cold chill of hate and fear filling the room. You arrogant brat, we are the true masters of the Kushiki clan. We've kept the family proud and strong while you broke the laws twice. You dare point your sword at us? As a member of the Kuchiki clan, no, that would be unthinkable, he said, bringing his sword in front of him and prepared to use his shikai. But I am the captain of the court guard squads before I am a Kuchiki. Scatter, Zenbon Sakura. His cherry blossom blade flew and attacked. An hour later, some attendants found their lord exiting the room of the elders and said one order: please clean that up. The sight inside was horrific for them. Squad 15 barracks. Well, there was a way to spend the week, Ishin said as Ichigo, Orihime, and himself returned to the barracks. Conspiracies, assassinations, trials. I forgot how stiff things could go. I can't wait to get home. Then Lisa came by and whispered something into his ear, making release a sigh, but it seemed happy. But I still have something I need to do. Ichigo, you and your friends are on leave until further notice, he said before going into his office as his friends and fellows officers of the squad came by. Most of them were fine, except Tatsuki had a bit of a limp and was wrapped in bandages. I personally do not know how to take that, Ichigo said, having spent most of his life training or studying. Why are we taking a break anyway? Probably because our recent displays of ability may dissuade Aizen for the foreseeable future, Uryu said before Hiyori stuck her head out. Urahara sent a spy drone into Wakamundo that even he and Yorushi can't find unless he activates a failsafe that sends it flying back to him. Said that the latest info was that Aizen wasn't ready for another assault yet. She went right back into her room, leaving the teens to their plans. Okay then, Ichigo said, facing his friends. We have free time. What do? Immediately, Orihime and Tatsuki latched onto his arms. We got some much-needed daytime, Tatsuki said with a smirk while Orihime giggled. Yeah, that sounds good. Uryu conceded before pulling out his planner. I should be spending more time with my girlfriend too. Nemu's getting irritated. He noticed everyone was looking at him. What? Didn't she kidnap you? Chad felt like reminding him, and try to have her way with you. That was Mayuri's doing. We kind of hit it off. Uryu said, slightly embarrassed, ignoring that she's artificial. Good for you, man, Ichigo said as the rest of them began to leave. So, any ideas come to mind, girls? He asked before Ishin's office door opened. Thank you, Captain, a happy-go-lucky voice called out that was familiar to the hybrid. Don't worry, I remember what the lieutenant taught me. I won't disappoint, she said as Ichigo saw her. She had purple hair tied in a ponytail by a red ribbon and amber eyes. The moment her eyes met, her face exploded into a massive grin. Ichigo, I came back, she cheered as she glommed him. Senna? He asked in shock as his memories fully returned, as everyone who saw her had their memories returned. Welcome back, rookie, he said, patting her head and making her beam at him. Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers. Captain's Return, Urahara. And so, Mayuri, you've literally been busy, so Urahara started as he was making his way back through his old barracks. Most of the squad happy to see him return. He was making his first plans, which needed Mayuri, who was currently staring at Ichigo's severed arm and giggling madly. Put that down before you go blind, he said, smacking the psychopath and gaining his attention. Now, I need to get up to it. I need to get up to date. Show me everything the 12th has been up to since my exile. The former captain, now lieutenant, thought nothing of it and handed over the master password to Urahara. 5 minutes later, the SRDI was being consumed by raging flames as Shinigami ran about in panic. The fire patrol and most of the other captains came by to see Mayuri gagged and limbless, a fuel canister next to Urahara, and the man himself with the most disgusting, horrific look on his face. Kisuke? Kiraku asked hesitantly. What happened? Urahara looked at him with a dead expression, scaring the old captain worse than Nanuwa without her glasses. You don't want to know? Captain's return. Ishin. So yeah, I might have to close down the clinic for a while. Ishin was telling Ryukin while Ichigo went to inform the visors about the return to society. Maybe I'll be back in the living world, but I probably won't have the time to run the clinic anymore. They'll have to go to your hospital for treatment, and don't worry, Ishin, Ryukin responded, pouring out some whiskey for the two of them in celebration of their wives' reawakening. Like I told Uryu, my concern will be with the living. That house of yours is for sale, right? He asked, making Ishin rub his chin in thought. No, but that old lady is considering, he answered as he took a look at his amber liquor. When she does, I'll open an emergency clinic there. I'll deal with the living, and you'll deal with the spirits, Ryukin said, raising his glass. Ishin smiled and clinked the drinks. Thanks, old friend. End of chapter 58. Ichigo Awakens by Talacha, Chapter 59, Romance Among the Living, Orihime's date, Day 1, late afternoon. What should I wear? Orihime thought to herself, standing in front of her mirror in cream white and pink underwear, trying to pick out an outfit to her movie date. After deciding to use their free time to get in some bonding and meeting Senna for the first time, they decided to let Orihime get first dibs while Tatsuki and Senna went out shopping. There was a re-showing of My Neighbor Totoro at a special event, and her brother got them tickets to go see. She grabbed a light pink sweater and a dark rose tinted skirt, figuring it suited her personality before dressing up and meeting her date. She found him waiting in the park, seemingly asleep to the outside world. He had a pair of black jeans with a navy blue shirt with a white 15 on it with a black hoodie jacket. He seemed to be at complete peace with the world around him, that no one noticed his presence. She made her way towards him, and he got up the moment she was just a few feet away. "Hey, Orihime, ready to go?" he asked with a smile. The sight of him actually calm and happy warmed her heart. Ever since she learned the full weight of his mission and goals, she has worried for him. But every time she sees that smile, she's reminded of his strength in both power and will. He gently took her hand almost seamlessly, and they began the trip to the movies. She thought about the other movies, but she felt that this was the most realistic of the films that she had to choose. Plus, it's a Hayao Miyazaki. The man can do no wrong. "Let's go!" She cheered with a smile as they made their way to the theater. The walk was soothing, and his presence was much more calming than before. Before, it was strong and intimidating, but now he made her feel so much safer just by being there. She knew strength from her training and understood the drive of the fighter, having connected the other two elemental spirits out of a desire for power and combat. Terra and Ventus, during her time at society, would have had to let her use one of their training halls in exchange for studying the exorcist fighting style. But even with how far she got, she knew she was far from matching the man that captured her heart, and that spurred her further. They made it to the movies and got in to watch the anime classic. "Huh, almost reminds me of myself and Uryu when we were younger," Ichigo muttered, watching the film as the two sisters were running around screaming. Happier memories before Soken passed away. Orihime saw something else. The family she wished they would have together. Herself, Tatsuki, Rukia, Rangiku, and recently Senna, all looking after the kids as they played and laughed together, waiting for their father to return home from his job as a new captain commander. She admits to being annoyed by girls other than Tatsuki being his lovers, but Rangiku gave a new perspective of not love rivals but new friends. She enjoyed sharing among friends, but now was her time with one of her favorite people. The movie ended and they went for a walk near a lake in the park. "That was better than when I first saw it," Orihime chuckled as they talked about the movie and what they enjoyed. "That was something I needed," Ichigo said with a deep sigh. "Thanks for this, Orihime. It was nice." She leaned into his side and he wrapped his arm around her, basking in the fading light of the setting sun. He just sighed in contentment, feeling her stomach and praying for a swift end to the wars and battles ahead, so she could make that wish of a family as a result a reality. And Tatsuki's date, day 2, evening. "Ready?" And Tatsuki asked, dressed in her martial arts gi with Ichigo standing across from her in similar attire. Orihime wanted a soft and calm date, while Tatsuki preferred to get a lot more physical. Orihime fixed up her body, and she was aching to see how she stacked up against her old sparring partner. She took to Hakuda like a fish to water, and was trained by whom everyone considered as the greatest martial artist in all of society. "I'm ready," Ichigo responded, popping his shoulder with a few last stretches. He was trained by whom everyone accepted as the strongest Soul Reaper. Now it was time to test their skills. Within an instant, they were exchanging punches and kicks. Tatsuki was on the offensive, trying to find a crack in Ichigo's defenses as he swiftly blocked every strike. It took her a moment before she noticed something was off. She started using more advanced moves, but Ichigo was still using basics. She purposely got them in a deadlock and demanded an answer. "Come on, Ichigo," she said with a tomboyish smile. "You're training under the oldest captain. What has he been teaching you?" She finished, noticing that while she was breathing somewhat heavier, Ichigo didn't change. "Krabs didn't teach me anything," he said honestly, puzzling the martial artist. "He says I need to refine my skills, starting with basic punches, kicks, swings, and stabs." Tatsuki would have complained, but she remembered hearing about Bruce Lee stating that he didn't fear a man that had practiced 1,000 kicks but he did fear a man who practiced one kick 10,000 times. The thought hadn't occurred to her recently because she still needed to work on controlling her fire powers. Something Yoriichi thought would be aided by having a Sanpakuto. Without saying anything, she pulled out a couple of cinder blocks and tossed them at Ichigo. Years of martial arts training allowed her to trace the punches he threw, and and she was in awe. Something in her screamed that it was the near perfect strike that broke the concrete blocks apart. No wasted movement, and just enough to prove the point. Well, looks like I should get back to basics myself, she said with a smile, happy to see how strong that crybaby from when they were kids had become. Wanna help me out? She asked with a come hither tone, and tried to make walking with the martial artist gi look sexy. According to Ichigo's subtle growl, she succeeded. The rest of the day was spent trying to perfect her motions while rubbing against each other as much as possible. Senna's date, day 3, afternoon. Come on, Ichigo, Senna called out while running on ahead into the amusement park, the Disneyland in Tokyo. The other girls in Ichigo's love life decided to let her have a date with him, considering she died for his sake. Not to mention that she and Orihime really got along. She was wearing a yellow long sleeve that clung to her figure, along with a dark brown skirt. On her shirt was a spiral of the Shiba clan, since Kukaku adopted her into the clan as well. Ichigo had a black shirt with an emblem of his hollow mask on his chest with camouflage cargo pants. She insisted on the amusement park because she wanted actual memories of her own, and it was her first date when they went on the Ferris wheel so long ago. I missed that girl, he thought to himself as he followed her into the park. They rode rides, played games, ate food. Ichigo was absorbed into Senna's pace as she frolicked like a child and acted like a caring sister to everyone around her. She clung to his arms as she dropped him around the park, and although he was embarrassed a few times, he was enjoying himself quite a bit. The day wore on until the final hours of sunlight, and they ended up in a Ferris wheel yet again. Thanks for putting up with my selfishness, Ichigo, she said, leaning against him with a large bag of their game prizes sitting across from them. This is what I wanted to do after coming back to life. Ride another Ferris wheel, Ichigo guessed sarcastically, knowing it wasn't the right answer. You really like high places, she giggled before pulling away and standing up and balancing on Reishi. Yes, I do, but mainly I wanted to relive my happiest memories that I knew were mine. She started looking off in the distance all around her. It hurt learning that the memories I had weren't my own, that I lived 1,000 different lives of other people with no real past to call my own. Her tone was somber, sad as she remembered the sense of so many different memories playing in her mind. I was scared that I would fade away, the memories of so many people without my own identity, and when we came to my grave, you lied to me. Ichigo froze in shock as she revealed that she knew her name wasn't there in the end. My name wasn't engraved on that stone, but it was in your heart, and the hearts of everyone in Squad 15. She turned around and gave him a beaming smile. You gave me a past, a proof of my existence as my own person. I'm not too sure what I technically am, but I am sure of this. I am Senna Shiba now, proud member of Squad 15 and protector of the human world, she announced proudly, prompting a small applause from the hybrid. She took a slight bow because her expression became more nervous. Now, there's just one more thing I need to do, something I couldn't do last time, she said with a burning blush on her face. Without giving him a chance to do anything, she pressed her lips against his and held them there. After a few seconds, she pulled away, smiling while glowing pink from her blush. I love you, Ichigo, she said, happy to do the one thing she was denied before. Ichigo merely smiled before pulling her in and showing her how to really kiss. Las noches, Orina. Well, Ulquiorra, how do you think this will go? Aizen asked his more trusted Rancor. In the center of the arena was Grimjaw and an effeminate, youthful Rancor. He was Lupi, the Rancor assigned as the new sixth to replace Grimjaw after his public shaming. Other Rancor received training, and Lupi was directly trained by Jin. This was a contest to see whether Grimjaw would earn back his place as an espada after his training with Ulquiorra. The whole of Las Noches was in attendance, watching with varying levels of interest. Jin and Tosin were with Ulquiorra and Aizen, watching from his throne. I feel this is needlessly cruel, Ulquiorra said, sparing a glance to Ichimaru. You should have put more restrictions on the fight. Grimjaw was swerving around eight massive tentacles that frankly stabbed, and wrapped around the panther with a look of fury and desperation on Lupi's face. I suppose I should have had Grimjaw loose his arms again. The traitor captain sighed. Jin, I'll have to punish you later for half-assing Lupi's training. The boy let his rank get to his head, Jin said with his dark smile. I figured this would serve as a good reminder that he should lose that arrogance. Grimjaw moved with the grace that he forgot when he took on human form, remembering his hollow form, and practically danced through all of Lupi's attempts to strike him. They were on opposite ends of the arena when Lupi charged the Zero from each of his tentacles. Just as he was about to discharge the attack, he found Grimjaw's face, the burden in his gut. The boy coughed up blood and glared at the panther, hate growing as he stared into those apathetic eyes of the former and now current sixth Espada. Winner, Grimjaw, Aizen said, no surprise in his voice, just stating the fact. As the panther was leaving the arena, a dark smile appeared on Aizen's face. Grimjaw, would you like to be the fifth Espada? There was a gasp of surprise among some of the Espada. What the hell? The current fifth Espada, a lanky, tall man with an eye patch and a spoon hooded jacket named Noitoro Gilga demanded. Lupi was pathetic, but do you really think that disgraced bastard has a chance against me? Sure, whatever, Grimjaw said, again showing apathetically toward his opponent. This only pissed the Gilga off more as he grabbed his blade, and an odd axe with two crescent moon blades on top of each other. He jumped down to the arena with two random Arrancar removed Lupi's unconscious body. You look down on me, Grimjaw? The hooded man asked. You think you're better than me just because you got your rank back? Grimjaw merely shrugged. I personally just stopped caring about ranks and all that, he said, cracking his knuckles and shaking his arms. Now, I want something else. And Tosin tapped his sword on the ground to signal the start of the fight. The two charged at each other, and Noitora swinging his axe while Grimjaw readies a punch. The blade came to his side, which he caught with his bare hand. Then the shaft of the axe handle before pulling himself closer to Noitora and slamming a foot in his gut. Grunting from the hit, the fifth Espada tossed his weapon away with Grimjaw still holding onto it before grabbing onto the chain attached to it. He swung around his axe, slamming it into the walls and ground. Believing that Grimjaw was still attached to the weapon, he never noticed until Grimjaw was right in front of him again, wearing a pathetic grin on his face. The panther slammed his fist into Notora's face and sent him stumbling back before using Sonido and to catch up and grabbing him by the skull. Grimjaw slammed Notora's face repeatedly into the ground before spinning to build the momentum and throwing the fifth Espada like a baseball. He slammed into the wall and could only watch as Grimjaw closed in on him. His eyes were hungry, his grin was savage, and his prey was right in front of him. The panther unleashed the barrage of punches, pounding Noitora deeper and deeper into the wall before one last strike that turned the spot into a crater. The dust settled and Noitora fell to the ground. Everything was smooth as Grimjaw raised his foot to crush the Rankar's head before turning and walking away. Again, he growled in his mind. Pity from my opponent, from you, Grimjaw. That bitch Nediel was higher in rank, but you're beneath me, you bastard. He unleashed his Ryotsu and pulled the chain to bring his blade back to him. Pray, Santa Terra. He prepared to use his election before noticing a blade in his chest, just millimeters from piercing his heart. He followed the blade to see Jin smiling with Aizen's disapproving look. I declared the match over, Noitora, he said calmly, with enough steel to remind everyone why he's their king. Grimjaw is now the new fifth Espada. You will become the seventh, he said, shocking the former fifth. Seventh? I didn't feel so badly that somebody can surpass me. Noitora protested, glaring at a dark-skinned bald Rancor and daring him to challenge the beaten man. No, somebody will become the seventh, Aizen announced, with the Rancor in question nodding in acceptance. She's grown much stronger, so she will be the sixth. Notora's eyes widened and he growled in fury as Aizen continued. I'm well aware of your history with her. I figure this is a fitting punishment for your misconduct in this fight. Dismissed. The trio of Soul Reapers left the Rancor to their devices as Jin spoke up. Sixth is a rather lucrative position for what is going to be a babysitter, Captain. The fox said with his usual teasing tone. It's delivering proper justice and punishment for Notre and Sera's actions against their comrades so long ago. Tozen spoke, giving his opinion on the matter. He wanted to punish the two when they betrayed the former third years ago, but Aizen said that it would be for the best. That girl was not a fighter at heart. She was disposable then. Now he has a use for her. intimidation is all well and good, Aizen stated as he caught a glimpse of the girl in question. But she has experience with children. Nelio will do nicely once we have them. Candace stated, day 4, afternoon. How did this happen again? Ichigo asked himself, sitting in front of the changing rooms at the Kurukara Mall. He was just walking around minding his own business when Candace Catnip literally grabbed him by the collar and dragged him to the mall. I'm questioning my loyalty to someone who is supposed to be like a god to me, and it may cost me my life. I need to go on a shopping bender, and you're coming. That's what she said when she dragged him to their current location. He's been waiting for about 10 minutes before the curtain opening. How's this? She asked, standing confidently with a tan jacket and lightning yellow shirt that showed off her midriff and a pair of tight jeans. Ichigo looked it over for a few seconds before nodding in approval, making Candace smile and return to the changing room to try the next outfit. Can I get an explanation for why this is happening? Ichigo asked as he began to change. Why me? Why now? What's going on? Would you say you guys were developing a slight change of heart? We're interested in staying alive, Kurosaki, she responded, trying to decide between shirts. We've had recordings to watch of your fights in Soul Society before Urahara managed to lock the majority of us in a separate dimension. She came out in a slight punk/military look, similar to her usual uniform except much more professional looking. You went into Soul Society for a girl you barely knew. Your power is incredible, and you're a skilled fighter. Plus, you've got the body of a god. And she smiled, striking a pose for Ichigo to evaluate him. Maybe throw in some black lipstick to complete it. He suggested, making her look in the mirror and consider it. It was more than saving Rukia, though. That did play a huge role in me being there. It was about warning Yamamoto about Yobak's return. My own Quincy blood hates that guy. That's pretty evident with you and Ishida blatantly declaring your desire to stand against him, she remarked, thinking about the next outfit to try on. To this day, no one really knows how you, your sister, and Uryu survived the holy selection. Most of us saw it as His Majesty's mercy, but the three of us have our doubts. As for why I'm doing this with you, I think it's obvious that most of the Vanderreiks fall into two categories, sadists and psychopaths. It wouldn't surprise me if most of the Stundriters actually turn on each other while killing as many Shinigami as we could. I've actually thought about turning on Bambi a few times. Seriously. Why? Ichigo asked, honestly confused. These people were supposed to be family and allies. How screwed up could they possibly be? This one member of our little clique, she's completely insane, scares everyone, she said, thinking about literacy with a shudder. And she's obsessed with Bambi. On a cheery note, we have only so long before the Quincy rides back up for war, so I want to hook up with the best guy available before that, with you, Bambi, and I can at least make it seem like we're trying to follow Yobak's order to bring you back to the Quincy. She opened the door to reveal the lime green t-shirt and jeans she started in. Besides, I wouldn't mind being one of your bitches at least. Gotta take care of the warrior's needs, right? She said with a sultry smile, making him go bug-eyed. You saw that? He asked, slightly mortified. All the femlitters saw that, she said, walking by him before leaning to his ear and whispering, very nice, by the way. She walked away feeling that impromptu date went rather well for her. Bambita's date, day 5, late afternoon. This is certainly fitting. For some reason, Ichigo said to himself as he surveyed the terrain. Bambita showed up to drag him away, much like Candace did, but after going through this once already, he just walked beside her as she decided what they would be doing. They were running around town for hours before he asked if she knew where she was going. His answer came in the form of an embraced blush as she exploded at him, never going on an actual date in her life. After getting her to calm down, they went to a place he felt she would appreciate, a paintball course, one that Urahara was involved with. How did he know? It was a huge part of the forest with plenty of natural and man-made obstacles with very light rules. Don't shoot the head don't shoot the head if the hood's down. Paint splotches the size of an American's count as dead. Melees only count if the paint on the blades are still wet. And bring your own false blades. It was expensive and usually reserved for military, police, special forces, and combat fanatics. Just like the psychopath, just like that psychopath to do. Bambita agreed because she wanted to let off steam in her usual violent manner, but she wasn't allowed to use her shrift in Karakura town. She dressed up in heavy camouflage with realistic gun models, two for each of them, and a dull reishi blade of their usual swords. Some questioned Ichigo's massive cleaver, but chose not to pry further when he proved his association with Urahara. So here he was with an M16 assault rifle, 9mm, and his blade against another Quincy elite with a Glock 9 pistol, a Vector SMG, and her Deo Sabre, and many grenades. Now, let's see how this goes. He heard from above as a grenade exploded. Red paint to shower him. He left a sweet clone behind with Sonito as he leveled out with Mambita 50 feet in the air. He pulled out the assault rifle and fired 10 shots that she managed to avoid before she copied with her SMG. She danced an arrow waltz, moving around at high speeds while exchanging bullets all the while. After nearly a minute of high speed in the sky, they ran out of paintballs. As they landed, she pulled out 3 grenades and threw them at Ichigo, making him back away 2 and shielding himself from the third. He charged at her and made a slash across her stomach, which she was too slow to dodge. She looked down to the markings only to find herself clean of paint. Curious, Ichigo looked at his blade. Flung it all off. He said, noting the very thin coat of dried paint on his Reishi's blade. Bambita looked at her own, still holding quite a bit of wet paint on its edge. She smiled sadistically before charging at him. Ichigo proved her better in sword fighting, but his large blade made it harder to reload the paint needed to mark her, while Bambita moved fast enough to keep him on his toes while reloading sparingly. As she made a thrust at nearly clipping Ichigo, he grabbed her wrist and threw her away, none too gently, as she righted herself in pain, and the pink grenades on her body exploded. She walked over to him, covered in red paint. "You pulled all the pins on my grenades?" she asked dryly, Ichigo holding up the incriminating evidence. My teacher considers speed to be very important," he said with a smirk. "Plus, I figured you liked red. Wait, fire explosions are orange," he muttered, giving Bambi the opportunity to splash his face with the remaining blue paint in her sheath. After wiping her eyes, he glared at her. What did they say about dropping your guard?" she returned with a smirk. Ichigo started chuckling, which infected Bambita, and soon the two were in full-blown laughter. "This was fun. Nice to blow off some steam. Yeah, let's get going," he said, casually dropping his arm over her shoulder. Bambita actually blushed at the close proximity before forcing herself to calm down. After they returned the gear and wiped off the paint, they began their trek towards their homes. "So, if you loses, what do you think will happen to the rest of the Quincy?" she asked, figuring that Ichigo would know more about Yamato's plan, since that was something His Majesty predicted. "Well, when he loses, the surviving Quincy might be sent back to the world of the living, but under supervision. He gets to thinking about what he'd do in the captain commander's position. If any defected, they'd probably find a place in Squad 15, or left alone to live their lives. At least that's what I'd ask the old man to do." "Ichigo, I'm not a good person," she admitted, stopping in her steps and making the hybrid look at the explode. "I've killed dozens, if not hundreds, of my own comrades, gleefully as a stress relief. I've been quite the bitch to the closest people I can call my friends. I was looking forward to slaughtering hundreds upon thousands of soul reapers for fun. Should I still find mercy?" Ichigo looked at her with a critical eye, making her avert her gaze. She felt accusation, the weight of sin on her from the reflection in his eyes, before he gently flicked her chin and before he gently lifted her chin and looking into her brown eyes. "I only want to protect everyone I can," he told her in a soft tone. "If you repent your actions and try to atone, I will do anything I can to save you." Bambita felt her face burn and her breath catch. "That's the kind of person I am." He released her and began to leave. She stood as still as a statue as his words repeated in her head, feeling an unfamiliar tightness in her chest. Karakura house. Toshiro Hitsugaya was in a bit of a bind. He was given an order to bring Ichigo back to Soul Society after a long discussion between Ishin and Ryuken about the hybrid in question. He still couldn't fathom why this was necessary since Ichigo always responded to summons and orders before. Now here he was at his old captain's home with the Kurosaki family, and Masaki seemed intent on making a big deal out of him being like family. You are every bit as cute as Ishin described. The Kurosaki matriarch squawked as she hugged the young captain tightly. Toshiro was blushing up a storm as the Quincy woman continued to fuss over him. Mom, he's the captain of the Gotai, same rank as Dad. You're embarrassing him, Karin said, working on her keto spell homework. She and Yuzu were doing well in Chino Academy, even being called the Shield and the Spear duo, with Karin being the best fighter in her grade and Yuzu being the better support. But he reminds me so much of Ichigo at his age, Masaki whined as the captain pried himself free. I'm a few decades older than you, Miss Kurosaki, he grumbled, wishing for Ichigo or even Ishin to return. Yo, Toshi, Karin called out, giving him a window to keep away from the mother. Since Dad and Bro aren't here yet, you mind helping me out with some of these spells? She requested, making Toshiro give silent thanks as he began to tutor her in the healing Tito. She was struggling with making Masaki looked at the two and smirked to herself before heading into the kitchen, where Yuzu was getting dinner ready. Hey, Mom, are you helping? I thought today was my day to cook. Yuzu asked while stirring a pot as Masaki came by and started cutting up veggies. It is, but I thought I might give them some alone time, the Quincy said with a smile, prompting Yuzu to look at the two for a few seconds. They certainly look cute together, don't they? The girl responded with a smile as they returned to cooking. Hours later, Ishin returned. Hey girls, Toshiro, he greeted as he came in. He was a little surprised to see his daughter and former third seat sitting not so close together, but he knew the two to make smart decisions. Masaki, I assume you know. He asked as his wife came in the room. I'm aware, less than pleased, but I understand, she said with a slight strained smile. This would be for the best, but she wanted more time with her family. Dinner was being set up at the table. Toshiro, feeling that he was imposing a little when Ichigo finally came home. This has been an odd couple of days, he remarked as he came in. What's wrong with being a man and romancing the ladies of your life? Ishin joyously cheered, proud of his man among men son. What I can't wait for is all the grandkids you'll be Masaki interrupted with a lute and a hand chopped to his head. He still has those days, she sighed, grabbing her husband to the table. Ichigo, noticing Toshiro more specifically that he was sitting next to his younger sister and felt his protective older brother instinct kicked in. He didn't act on it because at this point he might cripple the young captain. Dinner went by quickly and Ichigo finally asked why Toshiro was there, feeling concerned when his father became more serious as well. Ichigo, you're doing fine in your classes, Ishin said, looking at his son. Ryuken and I agree that you've been able to keep your grades up, even with the training, but with the war against the wrong heart coming at any point, we feel it's time to kick up your training. He held out his hand and gave the most shocking statement Ichigo heard from him in years. Turn in your lieutenant badge, Ichigo gasped in shock as Toshiro stood up and gave Ichigo an envelope. He numbly opened the letter and saw the orders inside. Ichigo Kurosaki, to continue training under Captain Commander Genryu Yamamoto, you are being transferred to Squad 1. Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers. And Captain's Return, Rose. So nice to be back in my old captain quarters, Rose said with a nostalgic sigh. He was about to start cleaning to get his old quarters back up to his standard when he noticed a keto barrier on the far wall. What's this? He asked this spelling the barrier with ease. Make sure this gets to the Captain Commander. He read the writing on the letter, deciding to get this to the Keto Corps to find any trace of foul play. He prepared to head off. That very same instant, a tune very reminiscent of Pop Goes the Weasel began to play. What the? He said before a massive fox headshot at him with a bunch of confetti. Captain's Return, Shinji, thank you again for coming. I just want to be sure all the evil is gone, Shinji said to Sora, dressed in his business suit, looking all kinds of confused. I thought I was hired to do an exorcism, Sora said, wondering why he was dragged to Soul Society after accepting an odd request to perform said exorcism. Cleanse this place of the evils, Shinji yelled, not at him, but the heavens of the heavens. You're Shinigami, you fight corrupt souls, Sora tried to point out. Be gone, demon. Are you paying attention? Captain's return, Kensai. I am forced into exile for a whole damn century, Kensai growled, looking at his assembled squad members. My unit was filled with competent soldiers. Now it just has a bunch of weaklings. Get back to your laps until I'm satisfied, he yelled, making them return to running laps. The reason for his anger was that none of them lasted 2 minutes against Mashiro, who was treating it like a game. And sing, Mama and Papa were laying in bed. Mama and Papa were laying in bed, they sang out. Mama rolled over, and this is what she said. I think you know where this is going. Captain's return, love. Troops, this is your first and most important assignment, he told his assembled officers. You are all to do my paperwork until I finish organizing my manga, he declared, gesturing to the massive pile of books in his bedroom. Magai, Ganjo, and Kibune promptly face vaulted. End of chapter 59.